And do your registration, the name of your association, provide us with your email, and possibly your telephone numbers. This will allow us to have a comprehensive outlook of what this training program and of course enlightenment session is all about. We also like to reach back to you at the end of this event so that we can take it up from there, and we will all be on the same page and we can fly on the same altitude. That's why we want to appeal to as many of our participants this afternoon. Once you come in, we appeal that you just go straight to our chat room and provide us with your name, the association or the organization you are representing, and you also give us your email address and telephone numbers so that we can have a comprehensive information about you and we can be able to reach you at the end of this event. Thank you. We thank as many as are joining us now. We appeal, just like I said earlier on, as you are admitted into this meeting, please ensure that you just visit our chat room and provide us with your name, the association you are representing, your email address, and your telephone numbers. Thank you very much. Remember, as you are admitted into this meeting, just ensure that you visit the chat room and drop your name, the association, or the organization you are representing, your email address, and of course, your telephone numbers. Thank you very much as you do this. In a short while, we will commence with this virtual meeting, and we do hope that it will be a rewarding one for all of us. Thank you very much indeed. A beautiful afternoon to every one of us. We like to work one-day training program on the public procurement law guidelines for the small and medium enterprises to key in to this public procurement law. It's a program put together by the Ministry of Trade, Investment, and Industry, Trade, and Investment of the Ogun State government. We thank you very much for being part of it. It's in collaboration with the Ministry of Budget and Planning of the Ogun State government as well. We'll be formally starting this program, and as it is customary, we will kick off with the national anthem of our dear country, Nigeria. Therefore, I ask that we take the national anthem. And we also follow it up with the Ogun State anthem, Ishaya. All right, one more time, I say pleasant afternoon to all that are joining us. And we are getting used to this new normal. And we do hope that it will be a highly rewarding training session and participatory event for all of us. My name is Adewole Dosumo, and I will be coordinating the events this afternoon. Like I said, it's a day training program just to ensure that the recently signed into law that's talking about the procurement law of the Ogun State government draws more of the SMEs in participating in this procurement law, and that we do key in so that it will be a win-win situation for all of us. I welcome all members of the organized private sector who are part of this event today. And like I said before, officially commencing this program, if you are still joining us and you are admitted into this meeting room, just visit our chat room and make sure that you avail us with your name, the organization or association that you are representing, and you also provide us with your email address and your telephone numbers. Let me also say that we'll be having two short lectures. One will be on the Ogun State Public Procurement Law and the guidelines, and the second one will be for the guidelines to increase the SMEs participation in the contracts that will be awarded by the Ogun State government. We already have our resource persons, they are online already, and in due course, when the time comes, we will be bringing them online to share their experience with us. And we will also have the opportunity of asking questions, and they will be providing answers. I also want to say a very big thank you to the honorable commissioners of the two ministries that are collaborating in we have a successful outing today. We say thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner for Industry, Trade and Investment in the State, on Kikelo Molonge, and the Honorable Commissioner for Budget and Planning on Labinton. Of course, they will also be joining us in the course of this to be sharing their own remarks and addresses as it may be. Yes, I said earlier on that the Ogun State government has signed into law the procurement bill, and ever since that, the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, in collaboration with the Ministry of Budget and Planning, been working very much to ensure that the SMEs key into this procurement law, and they are also enlightened about it so that their own businesses and the way they operate, as we will be awarding contracts, are indeed an open one, and they avail themselves of the necessary information that will be needed for them to be part of it. Right away on the remarks, I would like to invite the Honorable Commissioner for the Ministry of Industry, Trade and set the ball. All right, very shortly, the Honorable Commissioner for the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment will be joining us for the opening remarks. And I did say that this training session on the state procurement law is meant to increase the SME's participation in the public contract awarded here in the Gateway State, Ogun State. We want all hands to be on deck. We want everyone to be involved, and it is going to be participatory so that we can grow our businesses, and we agenda of the present administration under the leadership of His Excellency Prince Dako Abiodun, MFR, and will be on the Ogun State procurement law and guidelines. And the second one will be for the guidelines to increase this SMEs participation in the contracts to be awarded by the state government. I did inform you that the Honorable Commissioner for Industry, Trade and Investment will be joining us to set the ball rolling as a form of foundation with his opening remarks. And I'm sure that very shortly we will be having her. So get set as you are being admitted into this meeting room. Just visit our chat corner, drop your name, the association or the business concern or organization that you are representing, and also provide the email address and the telephone numbers so that we can have a comprehensive brief about you when the time comes. We also like to appreciate the cooperation given so far by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, own Mr. Aikulola. Thank you very much for doing a yeoman's job. I'm sure the Honorable Commissioner is set for us for the opening remarks. Okay, very shortly we will be bringing her. And let me also say that as the lectures will be going on, you can key into the areas that you would like the facilitators to drum up on and dig out areas where you want to ask your questions, and I'm sure they are well prepared to provide the answers for us today. Members of the organized private sectors that have joined us, we say thank you very much. The SMEs and business concerns, we still have the opportunity of being part of this training session. Training is good, retraining is beautiful. And when you train yourself, you avail yourself of the opportunity of knowing the latest trend. And of course, you also being armed with information that can assist and aid your business concern in getting to the next level where it will be well accepted and where enlargement, expansion, and ensuring that you operate within the ambit of the law being rolled out in the location that you are operating from. And that is why it is important. It is indeed very, very important that we know the latest as it concerns the award of contracts in Ogun State, what is needed by you, members of the organized private sector, the business concerns, and how we can ensure that the SMEs also participate in this public contract awarded by the Ogun State government as they grow their own business concerns as well. We also want to say a very big thank you for the support so far the organized private sector was given to the present administration in Ogun State in ensuring that we grow the business concerns in the Gateway State, as we also open our doors to other investors that will want to come to the Gateway State. The Gateway State is open to all with legit business, and that is why it is the Gateway State, because we provide all our business concerns with the needed assistance, the environment that is needed to ensure that their businesses thrive. Yes, the Honorable Commissioner for Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Kike Lomo Longe, will be kicking off with the opening remarks, and I'm sure is set for us. Madam, you're most welcome.
Good afternoon, Honorable State Commissioner, Ministry of Budget and Planning, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Budget and Planning, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, the members of the Ministry of Budget and Planning team, and directors and staff of the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. I wish to welcome all our entrepreneurs to this virtual training session on the guidelines for increasing SMEs' participation in public procurement and public contracts awarded by the state government. The key objective of this training is to help our entrepreneurs get acquainted with the modus operandi of bidding for government procurement activities and contracts, thereby enhancing opportunity for winning such procurements and contracts. This way, these contracts will be more competitive and flexible in line with global best practices, broaden the scope of the SME sector in the state, and most importantly, promote economic inclusiveness. The state government recognizes the vital role our teaming entrepreneurs play towards economic growth and considers it imperative to encourage and facilitate your participation in public procurement activities. At the same time, we have observed that SMEs face quite a number of challenges that inhibit their ability to effectively bid and win these contracts. Therefore, these guidelines seek to address these challenges by providing solutions accordingly and to guide SMEs to avoid common errors being made in bidding for public procurement contracts. It is our hope that at the end of today's training, potential bidders will be more exposed to the procedures required for participating in these procurement activities. Worthy of mention is that the business member organizations should be helping their members by organizing various training workshops where all aspects of Ogun State Government Procurement Act 2020 will be elaborately discussed so that contract bidding and winning will be that much easier. Equally, as entrepreneurs, onus lies on you to familiarize yourselves with these guidelines. On completion of these training sessions, copies of the training materials and the National Public Procurement Manual will be forwarded to the State Executive Council of your respective associations for onward transmission to members. To this end, I wish to enjoin you all to pay attention, ask questions, and responses will be made available accordingly. Also, entrepreneurs may wish to visit Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment at the Secretariat here at Okemoson, Abeokuta, for further inquiries. I wish you all fruitful deliberations. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Commissioner for Industry, Trade and Investment, for that beautiful welcome remarks. And I'm sure all the participants are ready to listen to our lectures for today. And of course, jot down their questions. When it is time, we will give you the opportunity to ask our resource persons, and they will provide the necessary answers. Without much ado, we will be going straight to our first lecture for today. And that will be on the Ogun State Public Procurement Law and the guidelines. To take through is indeed a man who knows the terrain and is well set to give us a highly rewarding session here. Jot down your questions. At the end, you raise your hands, we'll admit you, and you have the opportunity to ask your questions or to add your own comments. Taking us through the public procurement law and the guidelines is Engineer Tony Onoko. Shall we welcome him as justice to the topic of today? Tony Onoko, you have. Tony Onoko, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, when it comes to technology like this, you can have some few hitches here and there.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
All right, Tony, you're on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here to give a brief talk on the Ogun State Procurement Law, signed into law in 2014 and amended by Prince Dr. Dapo Abiodun in 2015. To take us through this, I have 40 minutes, but to start with, I'll just let us have a recap of what the law is. Law is a set of rules that guide the conduct of a community or organization in the action towards delivering an action that is enforceable. Failure to which leads to an offense that is method which would call penalties. And like we all know, ignorance is not an excuse under the law. Are you hearing me? Okay. Okay. It's not an excuse under the law. And we know as SMEs, yes, in law, a person is a legal entity and the company itself is treated separately as a legal entity under the law. To this end, I would like to say to us as SMEs in registering our companies, we had the article of a memorandum of association which stipulates what we're expected or what we are mandated to do under the law. Why I'm trying to say this, in essence, is if myself has told me I'm into catering business and I've registered TOMI Nigeria Enterprises, mandated under law to engage strictly or only in catering services. And I saw an advert because over the years I've had costs to build private houses for myself, for people, and I used the same company with the same memorandum of association to bid for a construction company. In law, that is called ultra vires. You will not be permitted to do that because what established you under law has restricted or limited you to catering. So please, as SMEs, to partake in this, we need to acquaint ourselves with what our businesses are established to do. And if we think we want to expand it, it is allowed under the law to do that. In order not to bore us, yes, procurement it's a set of rules. It's art and science of that governs. It governs how contractors, suppliers, and consultants are engaged as stipulated under the law and guidelines in executing contracts, government contracts with government agencies. That's just a brief. The next slide, please. I'm picking up from there. Yes, the next slide. Why we are here? Yes, we know that training mostly are meant to sharpen our skills, improve our knowledge, and change our perspective or attitude towards things. So the laws as established, it's meant to equip us with the proceedings of how the government's procurement henceforth will be conducted. And as SME consultants, suppliers, and contractors, we hope that at the end of this lesson, you would have been well briefed on the proceedings. Also, we hope that at the end of this training, you'll have acquired necessary skills that will enable you to partake in bidding for government contracts, in executing government consultancies. And we also hope that at the end of the day, we would have changed your orientation because the norm was, yes, government contract, it is always not transparent. We're saying no, henceforth it's going to be transparent. It's going to be equal opportunity for all and not for a selected few. You want to link out. Next slide. Yes, just take us through the topics that we're talking about here. Why procurement reform? Why are we here? The procurement law, the Council on Public Procurement, the Bureau of Public Procurement, procurement guidelines, contract, small and medium-sized enterprises, complaints procedures, conflict resolution, ethics, offenses and penalties, earned value management, questions and feedback. Why are we here? Well, we all know that Governor Prince Dr. Abiodun came into office May 29 last year, and he shared a vision of providing a good and focused governance that creates an enabling environment for sustainable economic development of our states that translates into significant improvement in the welfare of our citizens and their individual prosperity. So that's a great one. He wants an equal opportunity for all. He wants everybody to be better off from where they were when he assumed office, and he wants everybody to be healthy as well. To this end, he has approved that the procurement law should come into effect and be implemented to give equal opportunity to all, so that we can create a viable development partnership between SMEs and state governments to ensure that the limited funds in the purse of the governments are spent on projects with high impact and meets the needs of the people of Ogun State to ensure that there is significant improvement in their welfare and individual prosperity. Procurement, as defined earlier, this shows us the old process. Once the budget is prepared, respective agencies go to tender, get approval to tender board and EXCO approval, and award and implementation of contracts. But we're saying henceforth, there should be an efficient procurement plan driven by needs assessments. Yes, needs assessments, we all know that when Our Excellency assumed office towards preparation of budget 2021, meetings were held across the senatorial districts. Ijebu East was held at Ijebu Ode, Ogun Central in Abeokuta, and Ogun West in Ilaro. The essence of the budget meeting was to gather what does the people really need, what are their needs, to ensure that the projects given to them will be owned by them, will be secured by them in a manner that will be sustainable for all, and not that governments will keep spending money on all the time. Yes, to this end, procurement plan, well, just give us a brief of what it is. Procurement plan is usually in Excel sheets. It's just a plan that shows the steps by step to be taken towards engaging a contractor or a supplier in executing a government's contract. Usually comes the rate, what the actual rate, to monitor the performance of that activity. Adequate appropriation, that's emanates from the cost estimate which we intend to get the job done, because we know that funds are scarce these days, and want to be sure that whatever we conceive or we have in mind to do, we are adequately prepared for it in terms of finances. Yes, next stage after that is advertisements, or what we call invitation for bids. Usually, it comes in many forms. It can be in newspaper advertorials, e-adverts on the website of Ogun State government, on notice boards of organized societies like Ogun Asima, Nigerian Society of Engineers, etc., or on the news medias like TVs and radio stations to tell us that, yes, on this so date, the bidding document for this particular assignment, let's say construction of a school in Abeokuta, will be available for will-be contractors that are interested to come and pick it up and look at it. We're also saying that henceforth, the process of doing that is going to be transparent. A bid, what do we call a bid? Yes, a bid is an offer by a will-be contractor or supplier in response to the advertisement or invitation for bid issued by the government agencies. Usually, a bidding document is a set of documents that starts with the IFB or advertisement, invitation for bid, your bidding data sheets. That tells you what it's all about. Your general conditions of contracts, your special conditions of contracts, the drawings, the specifications, the forms of contract, things that tells you that yes, what is expected of you to partake in this particular bidding exercise, all will be stipulated and mentioned in the document. So once it is collected by you, a date that you expected to return the document to the procuring entity will be well spelled out or detailed in the advertisement or invitation for bid. So the particular date that you wanted to submit, you expected to come to the venue at the particular time and dates. Excuses would not be taken. If the document says the bid closed at 12 noon, if you come at a minute after 12 noon, your bid will be rejected or returned. So what we're saying, henceforth, African time is not going to be the norm. We're going to keep strictly to business, and it's going to be business as business. Yes, at bid opening, just a recap of, just to take us through how it's usually conducted, all called SMEs who have picked the bid and are interested in going further to the next stage of bid, I expected to be seated. The bids will be open in their presence. Prices will be around to know. So in case I don't know what Mr. B, what price he bidded for, it should be a shared information for us so that right from day one, we all know where we stand in terms of finances. To say that, oh, I'm the lowest bidder, I'm the highest bidder. Though it is not limited to that, evaluation criteria are well spelled out in the bidding document to guide those who are going to select who will execute the job. Yes, once your bid is opened, evaluated, and you're found responsive, you'll be given a letter of acceptance. You know you have given an offer to government, letter of acceptance to say that, yes, we have received or we have evaluated what you provided to us, and we found it satisfactory. But before you go into the signing of the contract, we will need performance guarantee or performance bond. Depending on the contract, we'll still get into that later. But to make things easy for us as SMEs, government is saying that you will not make it mandatory for you to go to banks to get guarantee that is much expensive. It won't be accepted from insurance company, which is cheaper and easier to get. After which that is done, and approval of ESCO has been, well, as approval of ESCO has been sought, then the contract will be awarded to you or to the successful bidder and will go into implementation. Yes, like I said earlier, the law was signed on 8th June 2015 by His Excellency Dr. Dapo Abiodun. Sorry, it was signed into law in June 2014 and amended by Governor Dapo Abiodun on July 28, 2020. Yes, permit me to read out some things because you know that words of the law is a statute and cannot be substituted. I will read out a few things for us and I'll try to explain. The law established the Council of Procurement, Council of Public Procurement, who oversees the Bureau of Public Procurement that is responsible for looking at harmonizing policies on this. The law empowers the Bureau with an oversight on the Council to monitor how public procurement is conducted by government agencies, to regulate how public procurement is done or conducted by government agencies, to develop a legal framework that governs how the public procurement is done. Yes, the law is not throwing out the baby with the bad water. It's also looking at how are we doing it before? What good can we pick from what we were doing before and harmonize it with the existing government policies and to ensure that there's equal opportunity for all. Setting standard for public procurements, building professional capacity for officers that will execute the law according to the principle of economy, efficiency, fairness, fitness for purpose, transparency, integrity, and value for money. We're trying to say that whatever we spend public funds on, it's going to be what is going to be beneficial to all. Just to take us through what constitutes, or who are the members of the council. Well, the chairman of the council is also the Honorable Commissioner for Budget and Planning. As the chairman of the council, the Director General of the Bureau will be the secretary. Part-time members to be nominated to represent the Institute of Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supply Management of Nigeria, Nigerian Bar Association, Ogun State Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the state branch of Nigerian Society of Engineers, and professional accounting bodies in Nigeria. Also on the council will be a representative of the SSG, the Secretary to the State Government, Commissioner for Finance, Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, the Head of Service, and the Economic Advisor to the Governor. You actually can see that the composition is wild. It's not limited to political functionaries, but representative of organized professional bodies. Function of the State Council on Public Procurement. I'll just run through. Considers and approve policies on procurement, receives and consider for approval the audited accounts of the Bureau of Public Procurement, consider, approve, and amend monetary and power review thresholds. Thresholds, what are thresholds? It's just a limit that is set to say that it's not open-ended. Some contracts or some works are complex, depending on the complexity. We'll get to that, but let me just try to explain to us. Depending on the complexity, if you're trying to do a works contract, you could have like 3 stages: shopping, national competitive bidding or state competitive bidding, international competitive bidding. The threshold is still at, preparatory stage to be submitted to the council or subject to review. We all know it, but let me just take us through. I can say that for contracts below 0 naira and 5 million, you can engage shopping. What shopping means, yes, it's not complex. It's a small works that you know. The threshold is determined based on your estimates, the engineer's estimate as mentioned in the budget. What you're expected to do in that is, yes, you might not necessarily have to go through the process of advert in newspapers. Yes, it should be published on the website. You have quotation, QSL, that's a quotation soliciting letter that will be available for would-be contractors to come and pick and return. Threshold also, we can look at state competitive bidding, which we can say threshold should be between 5 million and 250 million. Yes, you can see the threshold is wilder. What it means is contract or works with budget within that range would be administered by procedures or rules as stipulated in law and guidelines. Let me just give us a brief of that. Such things will be advertised. Such things will need you to get the bid security. Such things will need you to get a performance guarantee. Such things will come with penalties like liquidated damages and stuff like that. Yes, and the most complex is ICB, that is international competitive bidding, which says that yes, for works or for things that we cannot procure or do locally in Nigeria, or our nationals, our brothers from international community are allowed to come in and partake. Yes, also the council is permitted under law to approve changes in the procurement process to adapt to improvement in modern technology and world best practices. It's not going to be stagnant. It's also to approve the directors of the Bureau and perform other functions as stipulated. Yes, this is the Bureau. It's to be headed by the Chief Executive Officer, who is meant to be the Director General. Like I said, the council is still a work in progress. The process will be approved and announced by legal functions of the Bureau of Public Procurement. I'll have to read because you can't substitute for the words of the law. The Bureau is meant to formulate the general policies and guidelines relating to public sector procurement for the approval of council, publicize and explain the provision of the law on procurement to all stakeholders, supervise the implementation of established procurement policies, monitor the practice of procurement contracts, create and maintain a database of standard prices in synergy with the State Department of Statistics, publish the detail of contracts above threshold in the procurement journal. publish paper and electronic edition of the procurement journal, and maintain an archival system of the journal. Also, the Bureau is empowered by law to maintain a state database of the particulars and classifications and categorizations of contractors, procurement plans, and information. What we're saying that the era of it was done in and we don't have it is over, because the executing agency will have a copy and the Bureau will also have a copy. So should in case one is mistaken or misplaced, you have somewhere to go to get it. Also, the Bureau is empowered under law to undertake procurement research and survey to determine the social economic impact of public procurement and practice, and to accordingly advise the Council. It's not just to execute a project. We want to be sure that it meets the needs of our people and they're going to own it. The Bureau is also empowered to prepare and update standard bidding documents, contract documents, and issue no objections. Yes, no objection, I'll just try to say it's as stipulated by the guidelines, step by step, the Bureau is empowered by law to play an oversight role to ensure that the procuring entities follow the guidelines. What we're saying, if you're doing an NCB and it is mandated that yes, you should do an advert, before you proceed to that, you send it to the Bureau to be sure that yes, the advert is it's adequately informing for people to know what they're about, and once they issue a no objection, you go into that. Also, if it is mandated that yes, once you finish your evaluation, you submit to the Bureau too, depending on the guidelines. Yes, apart from you looking at it as the executing agencies, officials of the Bureau too will look at it and give an approval to say that yes, the evaluation has been done in accordance with the guidelines and a no objection will be issued. Also, the Bureau is empowered to prevent fraudulent and unfair procurement and, where necessary, administer administrative sanctions. I won't delve much into this. We'll talk about that later. The Bureau is also allowed to arrange and perform internal and external audits of procurement and submit such reports by the State's House of Assembly. Well, in a brief, those are the functions that the Bureau is permitted or empowered to do under law. It's just a brief to go through. Procurement guidelines. I think I've mentioned this, but I'll just talk about it. It's just a set of rules that governs the procurement of goods and services in a manner that ensures transparency, fairness, value for money, economy, efficiency, integrity, value for money, fit for purpose, that leads to the award of contracts between government agencies and private companies. Yes, the guidelines, it's not an hidden document. The guidelines for each procurement method is available on the State's website for SMEs and will be government contractors, suppliers, consultants to look at to further improve our knowledge about all this. Yes, just a recap, just to take us in brief to what's goods. If you want to procure goods, good is defined as things that are tangible, like a car, like a generator. And what the guideline is saying, for you to do that, you have a shopping method defined by threshold. Like I said earlier, the threshold will be approved by the council and everybody to be shared with all of us to be acquitted with this. The national competitive bidding, international competitive bidding, limited international competitive bidding, direct contracting. Well, let me just explain this a little bit to us. It's equally transparent too, because the procuring entity at the beginning of the financial year, if the sole desires to do a direct contracting method, will have stipulated same in their procurement plan, which is available for us to see. These are modes that are used when you know that, yes, what I want to do is probably available in the market or being produced in the market by one person. And government says, why get the third person to come into it? It's more like a third party to go and buy from the person, put his own profits and bring to us. No. So for such things, direct contracting can be used. First accounts, well, those are things that can be used in cases of emergencies. Framework agreement, What framework agreements means that if I'd conducted a business or a contract with a particular person, and instead of going through the rigors of procurement procedures, I can call the same person, keeping to the terms of the initial agreement. That's in terms of price. You cannot vary price, but it will have been declared before time for all to know. We are also permitted under law to do that.
Yes, Tommy, if you can hear me, you have just 15 more minutes, and you can just go through your slides so that we'll give the participants opportunities to ask you questions.
You don't worry. Sorry. Procurement of works is similar to procurement of goods. We have almost the same method: framework, first account, direct contracting, national competitive bidding, international competitive bidding, national competitive bidding, and shopping. What differentiates each is the threshold, which I said will be approved by the council and shared with us at a later date, in the near future, not a later date. Payment of services. Yes, services, it's where you engage professionals and you're not delivering any work, but the deliverables comes like reports, like you're doing an audit of an account of an agency, like you're doing a research study, you're permitted to do that. And depending on the complexity and the number of people involved, what the law is saying that yes, as an individual, if you think your expertise is germane, you can deliver to us. An individual, the agencies are permitted under law to engage an individual consultant. Consultant's qualification for complex thing that yes, your qualification has to be scrutinized to be sure that you are adequate, you have the adequate skills to render the service. Quality and cost-based selection, quality-based selection, yes, mostly to firms. We are sure that yes, they're capable to do that, and cost is not a problem. We want Pricewaterhouse, because they're a good auditing firm, to do a forensic audit for us, and we do not want to, for security reasons, share it. We're permitted on that to do that. Quality and cost-based selection for things that are not so complex, but quality is also important to us. Fixed budget, yes, it could be that yes, the assignment is not so complex, the skills are not so demanding, but we are limited by funds. We're allowed to see people that we know. The shortlists are usually made that we know can do the work, and tell them that yes, how do we go about it? List cost and single source. Procurement under emergency. Emergency is defined as an unforeseen circumstance of things that have not been planned for, like flood, wartime, and the era that we are in, COVID-19. We all know that prior to this time, it's strange to us. Nobody foresaw that, thought that come this time, there will be in a case like this. And what the professionals are telling us that, yes, we have to be careful in how we conduct our business until there is a prophylactics or therapeutic to be sure that, yes, we can go back to business as usual. Following the guidelines as stipulated by the National Council for Disease Control and State Ministry of Health or Federal Ministry of Health or relevant agencies. And we're saying that, yes, within the stipulated guidelines given to us, we should still be able to do business with everybody abiding with the rules of social distancing, wearing a nose mask, ensuring that surfaces are well cleaned, we sanitize our hands and all that. We're saying to relax the rules for SMEs because governments need our people to work. Government need our people that when they work, they pay taxes, and government in turn generates revenue. We're saying that for direct contracting now, the issue of no objection could or would be relaxed depending on complexity of the work. That the procuring entity can go for a bid securing declaration from insurance houses instead of banks, just to soften things for us. In case of emergencies, agencies can go ahead to procure but report to the Bureau within 10 days. Now, as soon as we have a comprehensive procurement plan for activities that we intend to do to mitigate this impact of COVID-19, same should be forwarded to the Bureau for them to upload in the website for us to know. We're also saying that electronic solicitation and opening and evaluation of bids are allowed. So necessarily, we don't have to come and gather in a place to say who is partaking, what is who submitting. Just like we're having a virtual meeting, such same thing can be done for bid submission, opening, and return rendering of evaluation report on the petition of award. Meetings will be virtual, like I said. And we're saying that for contracts procured under emergencies, the Bureau shall acquaint or furnish the public on their website of details of such things. Yes, procurement is all tailored towards getting a contract. So signing a contract between an SME and government agency. I was saying a contract is written or spoken agreement, especially concerning employment, sale, tenancy, or works, as the case is now, that will be enforced or enforceable by law. Yes, terms of contract, we're saying lump sum, more like I said that if you build my house to DPC level, I'll pay you. If you get to roof level, I'll pay you, depending. Unit rate contract, that permits you to say what amount of cement, cost plus contract, incentive rate contract, percentage of construction fee. These are things that you can read on the website. In legal terms, like I said, it has to be enforceable by law. The government will have to affix its seal, and its agency too, or the SME too, will also have to be. No terms are implied. It has to be express. The express contract, implied contracts executed, but those are not for us. SMEs, my colleague will talk more on that, but I will just in brief say that these are businesses whose personnel fall within the range shown. You are micro when you're less than 10, you are small when you're between 10 and 14, you are medium when you're between 5 and 199 personnel. And your asset is less than 50 for medium, your asset is between 50 and 500 when you're medium. And when you're small, it is between 5 and 50, and it's less than 5 when you're micro. Opportunities for SMEs in the new procurement law. I won't delve much on that. We're saying that you can partake in procurement of works, procurement of goods, services, auctioning of government properties that government feels that, yes, we don't need again, and we want to sell out to people. It's not going to be hidden. Equal opportunities for all to partake it. And we also said the factors limiting participation, my colleague will talk on that. Henceforth, because contract by telephone is not permissible, to say that, yes, I've done it before, government wants to see, so that, yes, we have something to hold on to. So hence, we encourage SMEs to say that, yes, when you engage a work, you undertake a work with someone, please make sure it is well documented so that you can use that to showcase what you have done, which will permit you to partake in government contract. Poor marketing, understanding of procedures, that's why we're enlightening us on this. My colleague will talk more on that. Yes, also tailored towards improved participation. Like I tried to say, this is a training session. We want to continually train our people to let us know that what are the latest in this thing so you can partake in it. We're saying that henceforth, announcements will be done. It's going to be a journal, it's going to be on news and print media. It's going to be at organized professional bodies for them to know what's going on. We're going to make the contracts affordable for all to do, educate SMEs, increase deadline, allow for free waive cost of documents if need be, waive requirements if need be, monitor SMEs participation in government contract, allow for submission of performance bonds, increase advance payments to ease liquidity for SMEs. Government is also looking at to ease partaking for SMEs. Yeah, like I said, ignorance is not an excuse under the law. There are procedures under the law for complaints to say that, yes, I was part of this, but I was not given the contract. Yes, everybody can have it. It has to be one person. But we're saying that, yes, if you feel aggrieved, there are procedures for you to lodge your complaints with the executing agency, with the Bureau, and probably all this will be available on the website, and on request can be given to all of us. Ethical practice, issue of honesty, accountability, guides what we're saying here. Resolution, yes, conflicts, the law permits only arbitration. We all know what arbitration is all about. Yes, penalties, we're saying that, yes, I'm a director of a company, so I'm not liable for the offense or error committed in rigging a bid. No, we are both liable, that's what the law says, but all that we've commented. Because of time, I'm considering I'll not be able to talk about much about that. Yes, I've talked about disputes, arbitration is allowed, ethical conduct, transparency, accountability, fairness, offenses and penalties. Offenses when something is done in contravenance to the provision of the law, bidding for a procurement based on false pretense, entering or attempting to enter into collusive agreements, conduct or attempting to conduct procurement fraud, directly or indirectly influencing in a manner the procurement proceeds will be at advantage, splitting of tenders, bid rigging, willful refusal to allow the bureau officials, altering fake documents, and so on and so forth. Our penalties, yes, like I said, yes, if you're a company and you're found guilty, stand a charge of being debarred for 5 years, which means you will not be able to partake in government's procurement procedures within limited time, or option of fine. Or if you found culpable and guilty, you might be imprisoned for a limited number of years, 5 years, depending on the gravity of the offense committed by the company or its directors. Project monitoring, yes, it's just to say that yes, you have a project is done within the limited budget and time, and we're saying henceforth we're going to be looking at the budgeted cost of work schedule, the actual cost of work performed, budgeted cost of work performed, to say that yes, you know, a budget or a contract is based on a budgeted estimate. So to say that what have you done, have you fair, the cost variance, the scheduled variance, cost performance indexed, the schedule performance is indexed to see how our contract, our projects are moving to ensure that we keep to time and quality is not compromised and cost is strictly monitored. On that note, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity given. I don't know if we can move to question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tomi, for that incisive and straight to point presentation. To acknowledge the comments of Ibrahim Bada, as well as Pastor Chopin. Ibrahim said, can you send in a copy of this presentation? And Pastor Chopin said, we will appreciate if we can have soft copies of this presentation. Well, let me just answer you straight that is why we ask you to register at our chat room so that we can forward such to your email addresses and you can have a full understanding and the opportunity of going through this presentation one more time. Well, for the next 10 minutes, the line will be open. If you have questions for Tomi, you have the opportunity to do so in the next 10 minutes, as our second resource person will be standing by to take us through the next presentation. So if you have questions for Tomi, you can signify, you can raise up your hands, and we can admit you in. Or you can send your questions to our chat room. I'll be able to take it up from here and ask Tomi, who is well prepared to answer us. So whichever way you want, you can raise your hands, we'll admit you, or you can send them in through the chat and we'll read through here and Tomi will answer us. Yes, you have the opportunity right now. You have questions for Tomi. Is set to answer our questions. All right, if you have questions for Tomi, just unmute yourself and ask your questions straightforward. Tomi will be listening and will be ready to attend to that question. Tomi took us through Ogun State Public Procurement Law and the guidelines.
Yes.
And yes.
Can I talk?
My name is the director, sir. My name is Oladipo Bankole.
I am a member of Smes. My question is, do we have to be party members to participate in this scheme? Because from experience, we know that if you don't have a party card, you may not be eligible, even though that is not stated as one of the preconditions for putting in on these contracts. Please enlighten us on this issue. Thank you.
Can we have two more so that it will answer the question straight away? Please just tell us your name and the organization you are representing and straight to your point. If we can't do that in 60 seconds, we'll appreciate it. Thank you very much, Mr. Oladipo Bankole.
My name is okay.
Oh, yeah, you are on.
Okay. My name is Owen. I'm representing Asbon, Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria. I don't know. I think Mr. Timo was just too fast. Extraordinary fast. I was just able to get one or two things. He was extraordinary too fast. I don't know. Probably, I'm sure he's banking of us getting the soft copy. But even at that, I don't know if he can recap one or two other things. But it's just too fast, and I'm sure that people testify to that it's too fast.
All right, Vitokwe, thank you very much. Two will do a recap in 5 minutes, and when he's through with the other question, he will do just a 5-minute recap to his presentation. Yes, do we have any other questions so that Toby can answer straight away? Any other question? Unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and in 60 seconds, you can get your questions to us.
Good afternoon. This is Mrs. Adeimbo from Nasan. My question is, I'm into locust beans production, and how can a government help?
Is that all?
Yes. How can a government help in the production?
All right, thank you very much. Let me call on Toby to just go through the answers to these questions. Toby.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Pastor. Yes, the first question from Sorry. Okay. I hope I'm audible to all now. Am I on? Yes, okay. Thank you so much. The first question is from Mr. Oladipo Bankole, who asked a question on eligibility, saying that do we or do SMEs or would be contractors and suppliers need party cards? I'll say no. You are eligible once you're a Nigerian. It's equal opportunity for all under this law. And we all know what qualifies us to be a Nigerian. So once you're a Nigerian, you are qualified in all respects to partake. Yes, like I said earlier, the law sees an individual separately and a corporate body too as a legal entity under the law. So you have to be sure that your books, like I talked about ultra-virus, if your books or your company is under the law engaged to be, let's say, a contractor to build houses, and you want to use the same company to come and supply goods, that will be a contravention. So you have to look into your books to be sure that yes, the contract or the works you're bidding for is what your company is permitted under law to partake in, irrespective of, yes, you've been doing that before, but we're saying ignorance is not an excuse on that law. So eligibility is just that you're Nigerian. Also, the second question from Mr. Owe saying that soft copy, yes. Like my pastor said, that will be available to all on request. So just send a request through the chat and it shall be forwarded to you. And also the law is available on the website of Ogun State and other necessary documents, which you can access through that. Mrs. Adeimbo Olu asked on locust beans. Well, my colleague on SME will delve much on that to see that how government can support you in that regard. Also, Mr. Weye said, just a recap, I'm sorry I'm limited or constrained by time, and you can see the slides are lengthy, but the long and short of all the stories was saying that, yes, the doors are open for us all to partake in government contracts, and it's going to be governed by principles of economic, it has to be economic, efficiency, transparency, integrity, value for money, fit for purpose, and fair for all. And also saying that, yes, ignorance is not under the law. You have to be careful to be sure that, yes, my brother is this, my sister is that, my wife is this. If you contravene the law, you'll be punished as stipulated under the law. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much to me or no for that incisive presentation. We are short of time. I would have asked our participants to ask more questions, but you still have the opportunity to turn in your questions to our chat room, and we can forward them to Tommy via the email. That's why we asked you to register at the chat room by providing your name, the association, organization you are representing, your email address and telephone numbers. But rest assured that we'll send in soft copies to you once we have your email address registered with us. Straight away, we'll be going to the second topic for today, and this has to do with the guidelines to increase SMEs participation in contracts awarded by the Ogun State government. How do we ensure that we grow the participation of our SMEs in participating in the contracts that will be awarded by the state government? To take us through this presentation, let's welcome Engineer Kehinde Akintomide, and he's going to do justice to this in another 35 minutes, and then the lines open for you another 10 minutes to ask your questions. Kehinde, you're on. Right, any of our participants, if your microphone is on, you can just hear ourselves clearly. Kehinde Akintomide will be taking us through public procurement contracts award.
Thank you.
Hello, Kehinde, can you hear me? Kehinde, you're on.
Hello. Yes. Thank you, Wale. A very good every one of us here on this platform. We are grateful for this privilege to be here today. Let me start by appreciating and acknowledging the presence of Honorable Commissioner for Commerce and from the budget the two agencies, and also from the two agencies. Everybody on the line, I welcome you once again. More importantly, PMOs, business membership organization members that are here today online to partake in this training. Well, briefly, I'll be taking us through the guidelines to increase SMEs participation So I will be taking us through the guidelines to increase SMEs participation in public procurement and contract awarded by Ogun State government. Now, while my colleague was speaking the other time, he spoke generally on all, but we are now narrowing down to Ogun State. This is because the state government has realized the importance of SMEs generally to the economy of the state. And taking into consideration the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, it is just the right thing to do to look at the best way to help in helping our SMEs to rejuvenate their businesses. So briefly, we'll be going through this presentation and for good understanding of what we're here to do today, we quickly go through the outlines. I'll be doing a brief introduction. Next is the definition and classification of MSMEs, which my colleague has done previously. Then the objectives of the guidelines, the overcoming common barriers that has been identified that have been militating against MSMEs from participating in public contracts and procurement activities in the state. Then how to overcome some of the common errors of SMEs in public procurement procedures. Then we'll go through, of course, which my colleague has done, the training of SMEs guidelines on PPAs and contracts, outline of public procurement process. We'll do the monitoring. How can we monitor MSMEs participation in public procurement activities and contract award? Then we'll now go into the documentation requirements for SMEs participation in public procurement activities and contracts. Then we'll go through the annexures briefly. The state government recognizes the vital role of our teaming entrepreneurs toward economic growth, and consider it imperative to encourage and facilitate your participations in public procurement activities. At the same time, we have the observations of some of the these SMEs which to effectively put in for, bid for, and even to execute such contracts. And to this effect, the guideline has been released, and that's what we're trying to look into now to make sure that we get ourselves acquainted and they have full understanding of what the procedures is and how best to make sure that we can take good advantage of this. Definitions and classifications of MSMEs. The classification adopted in the National Policy on Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises is as shown in the table on our screen, and of course, which my colleague has earlier on talked to. Going by number of employment, for people that, for enterprises that engage less than 10, they are usually referred to as the micro. Now, apart from the micro, we have the micro. The micro are those that engage less than 3. If it's a standalone business, let's say you are of the business and you are the only one operating your business, or let's say you have 2 more engaged along with yourself, you are still under the micro. But under the global categorization, anyone with number less than 10 employees on his payroll is regarded as the micro enterprise. Then for between 10, more than 10, but less than 50 is the small enterprises. And for those that have between 50 and 199, that is less than 200, is termed the medium enterprises. So here, for the purpose of this guideline, we'll be referring to any business outfit with less than 200 employees as regarded as enterprises. Now, on the asset-based level, for any enterprise with less than 5 million assets, that is excluding land and the buildings, they are regarded as micro enterprises. For those with more than 5 million and less than 50 million, they are regarded as small enterprises, while those with more than 50 and less than 500 million are regarded as medium enterprises. We have to appreciate the fact that at times the turnover of these enterprises might not at times be synonymous with the number of employees. We can see some businesses that have less than 10 employees on its roll, yet still make more than 5 million assets. So it is all relative. Now we look critically into the objectives of these guidelines. The objectives of the guidelines. The main objective is to address challenges faced by MSEs in winning contracts awarded by Ogun State government in order to, one, implement the state economic inclusiveness policy. The state government is taking it upon itself to make sure that the micro, small, and medium enterprises are able to participate in contracts bidding and win such. So we are trying to look at the best way to make sure that we bring them in there, to boost their morale and even open their eyes to areas where they need to have full understanding that will enable them to compete competitively. So it's also going to broaden the scope of SMEs subsector in the state. Then, of course, to promote competitiveness and flexibility in line with global best practices. Now, overcoming some of these barriers of SMEs that is actually preventing them from participating in contract biddings. So we'll be able to identify some of these barriers. And of course, the best thing to do is to prefer solution or look at the best way to approach mitigation barriers that SMEs will have confidence in themselves of their own identification of new opportunities. Even none, they don't have about contracts and the procurement bids that are available in the state. Now, what we are suggesting, or the approach that is to be engaged, is to ensure that all proposed contracts or procurement bids will be announced regularly. They will be given good publicity on major media platforms and via relevant business membership organizations like Ogun, Smes, NASI, Asbon, and others. Please, for the purpose of this training, we'll be referring more to the ones that have national presence, which are Ogusima, Nasme, Nasi, and Asbon. We equally want to appreciate that we have other BMOs. Now, the next barrier is poor understanding of the state's public procurement law and bidding procedures. I'm happy that my colleague has done justice to the public procurement law. So now none of us is ignorant of the fact that Ogun State has a public procurement law, a reviewed one for that matter, which has put into consideration the SMEs for bidding contractor participation. Now, for this one, it is being suggested that training sessions will be organized for SMEs on the state's bidding procedures, including the public procurement laws, so that they have full understanding of the law. Now, value of contracts often are too high for SMEs to participate due to their inability to meet the financial cash flow, average turnover, and similar experience requirements. Now, what the state is doing in this area is to consider breaking down the contract package into lots, wherein different SMEs can take it on lot basis, and the next one is to relax the qualification criteria to such a level as to meet the required conditions for the estimated value of contract being bidded. Then again, of course, we need to continually encourage SMEs to participate as joint ventures or subcontractors for the sake of winning contracts. Another barrier identified is inadequate information about the components of contracts. What the contract entails. And the best way to arrest this is to make sure that as SMEs, we carry out appropriate research and market analysis prior to tendering. We need to make sure that we get to know the nitty-gritty of every contract document that we are bidding for. So that once we have full understanding of all this, then we can know the right thing to do. Then again, we identify tight deadlines as one of the problems mitigating against SMEs. The state will review deadlines for submission of bids, especially for complex contracts, to accommodate more time so that they will be able to go through the normal as application procedure. Now, the high cost of bid preparation, including cost of producing paper bids, obtaining documents, and of course, submission to the MDAs. Here, the state will be looking at allowing free download of bidding documents. Bidding documents will be made available on the website, so SMEs can go through and then, of course, download bidding documents directly from the website. And of course, for those that will be coming over to the offices to collect the bidding documents, if it is possible to consider complete waiver of cost, or at least reduce it to a variable minimum that the SMEs can afford. This will also be looked into. Of course, the third one, which is very important, is to accept electronic submission of password-protected read-only bids and quotation. This way, SMEs can go online and, of course, upload all the documents and then make sure that they fill all that they need to fill and submit online. But it has to be passworded to protect their bids. And of course, this has its own challenge too, which is they need to upgrade their ICT knowledge. Now, some of the other barriers is the ability to obtain financial instruments financial instruments such as bid security, advance payment, and performance guarantee for the contracts or the bids. And here we are looking at having a waiver for the requirement for contracts that is below 1 million in naira. So, which means that for all these required financial instruments for contract that is below 1 million, if those requirements are waived off, SMEs can participate better in it. Then also allow for submission of performance bond declaration forms and advanced payment declaration forms. Now, these are done and signed in presence of a notary and of course notarized at the end of the day. If that one is done, it makes it a legal document which are now dead, and with that the SMEs can be able to participate. The same goes for bid security declaration form. They just print the form, fill it, complete it, sign it, and notarize it. Now, again, to address the inability of SMEs to raise sufficient funds to implement awarded contracts. It is one thing to be able to bid, is another thing to be able to implement the contracts. The state is being encouraged here to increase advance payment up to like 40%. That way, SMEs will have sufficient funds to commence their contracts. Now, we need to address some of the common errors that SMEs make in public procurement and contract procedures. Some of the common errors. The first one is the failure to follow up on notices of bidding opportunities, thereby missing out on applying on timely basis. For every contract, there is timeline. So once you fail to start up at the right time, the possibility of meeting up with the deadline will be difficult. So notices on the states and of public procurement activities will be placed on the website for e-procurement portals. Then poor understanding of the requirement by not properly studying the bidding documents. I think we'll be able to speak to this the other time, that every bid document should be properly digested, understood before you commence completion, so that you will not out on any who might be having big or inadequate understanding of some contents. So we should be able to come up and ask. When you ask, you will be explained to, and then you can apply properly. Further is late submission of bids. SMEs should do all that is required to comply with the submission deadlines stipulated in the bidding documents. So late submission of bid shouldn't be excuse for failure to participate in public contracts anymore. Then again, there are some documents that are required to accompany our bid. So all these documents are well spelled out in the guideline. Let us avail ourselves of the guideline, and then of course go through it to get the necessary detail that we need to know. Training of SMEs on the guideline, just like it's being done now. We are already doing a training, and we'll be having more of it for the SMEs, and also training on the public procurement activities. Outline of procurement process. This is very, very important because we need to know the stage to stage of contract bidding. The very first is advertise and solicit for bid. The advert on every bid will come out, then inviting tenders. So once we have the advert and the invitation, the next thing is to invite 2 persons to observe, to receive, evaluate, and select winning bids. When the advertisement is placed and bids is being solicited and submitting, we receive, evaluate, and select winning bids. The procedure is to invite 2 credible persons as observers, one from private sector, professional organization, and the other from non-governmental organization, working in transparency, accountability, and anti-corruption areas. We obtain approval of the approving authorities before making awards. Then debrief the bid losers on requisites. Now, this is it. It is one thing to apply, it's another thing to win. But if you are losing out on a bid, you have to know why you missed out on the bid or what your errors are. So you need to be debriefed on the selection process. So resolve complaints and disputes, if any. That is having debriefed you. If you still have gray areas, if you have one issue or the other, you take on it and all can be resolved. Then obtain and confirm the validity of any performance guarantee. Those are the necessary documents for such bids. Then you execute all contract agreements and, of course, announce and publicize the award. Monitoring of SMEs participation. Each MDA will submit to the public procurement agency the details of the contracts awarded by the MDA on monthly basis. The details will be published on the PPA website. The following information will be provided for each contract. The description of the contract itself, the names of the bidders, the number of persons employed by the bidders, that is based on their clarification, and then the winning bidder and the state if the winner is an SME or not, because we want to be sure so that at the end of the day we know the percentage of SME participation. The PPA will also provide training to the MDs on the application of these guidelines. Documentation requirements for SME participation in contract or public procurement activities. Please let us note all this. They are very, very essential. Number one thing is the filing of procurement tender form. We must be able to file the procurement tender form for any declared bid. Then we submit all the documents of the company, like the certificate of incorporation of the company with the corporate affairs commission, to include professionals, technical capacity, and key management staff. Submission of memorandum of articles and association of for limited liability companies. I think my colleague explained on this the other time, the essence of the submission of the memorandum on article of association, so that you'll be guided within the stipulated bids that you can apply for. The submission of contractors registration certificate with the procuring authority or agency. Submission of performance bond declaration forms. Submission of advanced payment declaration form. Again, we have submission of bid securing declaration form and the submission of sworn affidavit of ownership of the company used in the bidding, so that it's not just that somebody just act on another person's company and use it for bidding. So submission of evidence of tax clearance certificate for the business promoters and any other document as may be specified in the bidding documents. And extra one, how SME can request for debrief. That is, supposing the contract has been awarded and you just out in it, you can request for debrief. How do you request for debrief? A bidder may request to be debriefed on particular procurement process by sending a written request for the debrief addressed to the accounting officer of the procuring entity. A bidder may ask administrative review for any omission or breach by a procuring or disposing entity under the provision of this act, or any regulations or guidelines made under the act or the provision of bidding documents. A complaint by a bidder against a procuring or disposing entity shall first be submitted in writing to the accounting officer, who shall within 15 working days from the date the bidder first became aware of the circumstance giving rise to the complaint, or should have become aware of the circumstance, whichever is easier. On receiving a complaint, the accounting officer shall make a decision in writing within 15 working days, indicating the corrective measures to be taken, if any, including the suspension of the proceedings where it deemed it necessary, and giving reasons a bid is wrongly awarded, and a complaint was raised to that effect. The accounting officer will immediately realize that if there is an error somewhere, he will have to do the necessary steps by stepping down the bid and, of course, reacting or correcting the error.
Sorry,
in question.
you have just 3 moments to wrap up.
Okay, thank you, Wale. Let me say how best we can quickly go through this. Just like it has been said, the material will be shared with the participants of the day. We hope they'll be able to go through everything. And also, should they have questions, they can always reach out to us in our office at Okemosan, Abeokuta. That's Ogun State Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. But then we'll quickly brush through as we are almost rounding up. Upon receipt of complaint, the bureau shall promptly do the following. 1. Give notice of the complaint to the respective procuring or disposing entity and suspend any further action by the procuring or disposing entity until the bureau has settled the matter. Also, unless it is deemed dismissed, unless the complaint is dismissed, prohibit we have to prohibit the procuring or disposing entity that govern the subject matter of the complaint. We also revise an improper decision by the procuring entity. I think I've said this, I've explained a bit on this. So where the bureau fails to render its decision within the stipulated time, or the bidder for the bureau to deliver its decision. Thank you so much. This we come to the end of the presentation or the training. Thank you all, and God bless you for listening.
Well, I'd like to say a very big thank you to Kehinde Akintomide for that well thought out and well delivered training session on guidelines to increase SMEs participation in contracts awarded by the Ogun State government. Yes, like we did for 2 minutes, we have the next 10 minutes to ask our questions from Kehinde, and I'm sure that he is ready to take our questions, our comments, and our suggestions. So if you like to drop in yours, you can do that through the chat segment, or perhaps raise your hands and then we can admit you in, or perhaps just unmute yourself, introduce yourself and the agency, organization, or association you're representing, and ask your questions in 60 seconds. Thank you. Do we have any questions for Kehinde? Okay, you can unmute yourself straight away and ask your questions quickly.
Okay, my name is Temitope from Asbon.
Okay, Temitope, thanks for admitting.
Yes, sincerely, I sincerely want to thank Ogun State government for doing this. Fantastic. Now, my question is in two forms. I think it's suggestion and the same time the question. I think the easiest way that the SME can actually benefit from this is if the government is actually ready to partner with the BMOs. Now, when the governor actually carries the BMOs along in details, it's easy for the BMOs to get across to their members and to sanitize their members and to keep them up to date what needs to be done, as to what's actually going on, as to what they need to do and how to go about it. Yes, because for me, I think we are just getting to know the norm is being changed for the first time in the history of Nigeria. I want to believe so. It has never happened anywhere, and I think Ogun State is being the first class to do this. A fantastic job. But the only way I think it could be a success is the Ogun State should, I think, liaise with the BMO, work with them hand in hand, so that when all this thing comes out, it's easy for example, for Asbon to identify, okay, we have members in these categories that can fit into these categories of contract bidding and all of that, and it's easy for them to pull through. So I don't know if there is any provision for that. If there is none, I think it would be fine if they can add it to it.
All right, thank you very much. I can see Ariyo Oluwakaode and Adegoke Samuel. So let's quickly take them. Ariyo first, and then Adegoke can follow suit with their questions. Unmute yourself and ask your questions. Ariyo, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Go ahead with your question.
Yeah, I want to appreciate Mr. Kehinde Akintomide for the job well done. My question is, in this area of advertisement that is going to be done by the NDA, I want to know what efforts have been made to checkmate all these NDAs from actually cutting off members of the SMEs. Because you are saying there's a time limit for this contract to be held. What if they are not giving out the advertisement to members of the public just about a few days to the end of that time limit? What can be done to mitigate this particular problem? Thank you.
I think the question has to do with proper placement of the adverts with enough timing to ensure that the participants have good time rate before it closes so that they can submit their bid. I think I'm right?
Yes, you are right.
Right. Okay. The last one that was sent into our chat room: would the government give introduction letter to bidders to obtain bonds from institutions so as to finance the project? And that's coming from Yetunde Doyibelo. Thank you very much. Can you just unmute yourself and then?
Yes. Thank you. I'm in now. Now, let me quickly address the questions raised. I'll start it, with that of Mr. Temitope Uweye. Your question is if the governor is actually ready to partner with the BMOs. I think it is evident to everybody. It is quite clear, glaring, that the present administration is doing everything to ensure inclusiveness. You will agree with me if you are a member of any of the BMOs, you see the way we engage from time to time. In fact, in the last few days now, I can't even count the number of interactions or activities that we've had together. So you should know that the government is out to make well its pronouncement, and that is just it. And of course, it is evident in the signing into the law of the public procurement law. So the government is out to work with the BMOs, and you are well ensured that once you are a member of one of the recognized, more importantly, the ones with national platform, you are definitely on a good deal with the government. Now, the next one is from Mr. Rio Lukaode, placement on advert and maybe time factor. You realize that during the presentation, this was already addressed, and forthwith there will be adequate advertisement on every contract to be awarded. And you even heard that even the MDs will be trained to ensure that the needful is done anytime there's any contract to be awarded. So you definitely have detailed information forthwith. And of course, part of the reason identified as the bottleneck for SMEs is the ability to meet up with deadlines, and then the state will look into reviewing. But at the same time, the onus is on us SMEs to make sure that we step up again. We don't just have to relax and be asking for all these extension. If the bigger conglomerates, if they are able to meet up with deadlines, there's nothing that is. But that was the third one from Mrs. Doyibelo, looking for letter of introduction for you to get bonds from institutions, letter of introduction. Mrs. Doyibelo, you want the government to sign, more or less like sign a bond for you to come and collect contract from the government again. What if you don't now execute the contract, or maybe you default one way or the other? Please, it is expected that we should do the needful. I said something that there are some of these, for us to get some of these documents, it is even free. There are some that are free. If we approach the banks or some of these financial institutions, or even for the security ones, for the insurance, some of them are free. And there are others that you download the form, fill it in the presence of a notary, you sign, endorse it in the form of in presence of a notary, then you get it authorized. All these things are simple procedures that we shouldn't take as being something that is out of place to achieve. I want to submit that way, ma'am.
The very last KD before we give you the exit, Tosin Olaoye said, I need to know if there is a state procurement team on the ground, and if there is any way to know what contracts are up for bidding from them.
Sorry, Pastor,
Yes.
may I request that we leave the budget and planning folks to answer that question? So that is beyond SMEs, so that they can give us a comprehensive response to that question.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. Very, very shortly, we'll be having the Honorable Commissioner for Budget and Planning, and I think he will be able to do justice to that. On that note, I want to say thank you very much, Kennedy Aketombi, for your beautiful presentation on the guidelines to increase SMEs.
Straight away, without wasting time, I'm sure the Honorable Commissioner for Budget and Planning is standing by, and before he gives his closing remarks, he will be able to attend to the question raised by one of our participants who wants to know if we have a state procurement team on the ground, and if the contracts that are up for bid from the state government. So on that note, let me admit the Honorable Commissioner for Budget and Planning to answer that question and to also give us the closing remarks. Olaolu Olabinto, if you are there, you have the microphone, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Honorable Commissioner for Industry, Trade and Investment. Good afternoon, all the permanent secretaries and all the senior special assistants, the directors, and our guests, our participants. Please allow me to stand on existing protocols. I will start by answering the question from Mrs. Tosin Oloye Oyewole. Yes, there is a procurement team on ground. However, we will not be able to answer the question of the contracts that are available at this forum, because once we do that, we are immediately going against one of the tenets of best practices in procurement. We would announce at fora that is publicly available to everybody. So answering that here will immediately mean I am committing a contravention. So I will not be able to do that. We publish contracts in the newspapers and on our websites. So yes, and there are some, I think there's an advert that closed just today for some things that we're doing. So I think that answers that. I want to say that I have had an interesting 2 hours. I want to believe that all of us must have picked up a few things that will enable us to either be able to participate in the procurement process, if we haven't done that before now, or put us in a better stead to be able to participate and win procurement contracts. I want you to know that this is a new dispensation. When this administration came into being in May last year, His Excellency Prince Dr. Dapo Abiodun did announce that this administration will be built on best practices. It's about good governance. And when we talk about good governance, it's best practices. What we want to put in place is what you will find in the places that are forward-looking. You know, somebody asked whether you have to be a member of a political party before you can be involved in contracts here, and I will tell you that that's a categorical no. You do not have to belong to a political party. This is based on international best practices, and it's about transparency and value for money. So I need you to understand that. Now, I can understand the apathy that people who are not in government would have. Let me assure you that I was indeed one of you prior to May last year. And living in Abuja and running an SME in Abuja, I used to believe that it was impossible to win government contracts without patronage, so to speak, until I was fortunate to be part of a session like this many years ago, and it was a real eye-opener for me. And I can tell you that after that, without knowing anybody, I started to get government contracts. Now, coming to this place, we have realized that the problems are just the same. And I can hear people voicing out what the issues are. And that's what we are trying to correct here. That's what we are trying to correct. Now, I just need to share a few thoughts so you can understand what I'm saying and what indeed we're trying to correct. You know, when we're bidding, when we're going into a procurement situation, the first thing is about what we call pre-qualification. What I have found out is that most SMEs fail right from the pre-qualification stage. It's not about whether you know me or you know the governor or whether you are in our party. For instance, you submit your papers and your tax papers are missing. The law in Nigeria is that government should not deal with you unless you have tax papers. If you don't have tax papers for your company and for your directors and staff, you will not be able to participate in government procurement. And that's a place where a lot of SMEs just miss it. You would also realize that a man is bidding for a 300 million naira contract, just to use an example, and he submits a tax clearance that says his income in the last 3 years has been 100,000 per annum. Now, when he was doing that for the tax, all he was thinking of was he wanted to pay only 50,000 as tax. But what that bidding submission shows me is that he doesn't have capacity to do a 300 million contract. I mean, I'm just sharing these examples with us as live things so that we know some of the things that are affecting us. You know, and then we talk about, somebody has talked about it, evidence of your experience. I'm sure in our individual lives, if they say somebody should come and repair the engine of your car, you would want to inquire whether he has ever repaired a car before in his life. Now, this is taxpayers' money. Why then would I ask you to do something for government and I have absolutely no way of checking whether you have the required experience in that area. So for me, those are just some of the things that we just get wrong. And so you failed right from pre-qualification. Believe me, under the model that we are using, who you know will not matter. It is what you submit. So I want to encourage us. Now, one of the ways you can get around this is you can bid as joint ventures or as a consortium, so that you can pool your resources together. Where one person may be too small, by the time 2, 3 of you come together for the purpose of that transaction, you may be able to succeed. And then when we get to what we call the technical bid, you find out that some of the bids are what we call totally not responsive. So we're asking for A, and the man makes a submission talking about B. How do I give such a man a contract? He has clearly demonstrated that he doesn't even have a clue about what we want to do. I want to encourage us, let's just believe that there is a new captain and there's a new team, and this team is sincere. We want to do it the right way, and we believe so much that our SMEs must survive, our SMEs must indeed thrive. Because when you check the records, the SMEs as a collective group employ more people than the large corporates. So we need the SMEs to do well. We need the SMEs to be able to buy from government. So please trust us. Please let us work together. I want to say a very big thank you. We are going to hold another session in a week's time. It's going to be a repeat of this, so you really don't need to come back, but we will ask that you please help us inform fellow SMEs that you know, and please share their addresses with us, share the addresses with the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, so that we can have another group. We're really serious about this, so as many people as we can reach to pass this information to, we would like to do that. Again, I want to say thank you for attending. Thank you for your interest. We really, really look forward to doing business with you. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Yeah, well done, sir. Been a good day.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Budget and Planning, Olaolu Olabinto, for your closing remarks and for doing justice to the questions raised by the participants. Let me just quickly state here that for some who sent in their own requesting that for SMEs just operating in 6 months, how will we meet up with the documents required for the contracts? Well, feel free to walk into the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment or the Ministry of Budget and Planning. They will avail you of all the necessary information you need to do this. On that note, I also want to thank in a special way all our participants today from various associations, organizations, and the organized private sector. I also want to say a very big thank you to all the Honorable Commissioner for Industry, Trade and Investment, Kike Lomolunge, as well as the counterpart from the Budget and Planning Ministry, Olaolu Olabinto, not leaving out the permanent secretaries in the Ministries of Industry, Trade and Investment, Ulu Ola Aipulola, and Budget and Planning, Fumelayo Dada, for your support, and for all the Bureau of ICT for providing the necessary backup in ensuring that we have a hitch-free Zoom meeting here today. We do hope that when next we beckon on you, you will be there to be a part of our online interaction. On that note, we say a very big thank you to all those who have participated. And don't forget that you can still avail us with necessary data from your end. Just visit our chat room, drop the name of your association, your own name, and the organization you represent, as well as the email address and your telephone numbers, so that we can reach you from time to time. And in case you have questions for us, we'll be able to attend to it. Know for sure that one of the beautiful things that this COVID-19 has achieved for us is that regardless of opening our doors wide open, we can still reach ourselves online, and business can continue to grow and improve and increase on that note. Thank you very much, Kikelo Molungi, Honorable Commissioner, for joining us. Thank you so much. Ola Oluolabinton, Commissioner for Budget and Planning, for joining us. As we conclude, we take the national anthem.